there's a river that runs through you, not a river of water, but of energy, of spirit, eternal, quiet, and profoundly alive. You were born into this stream, not to grasp at the banks, not to cling to the rocks, but to flow effortlessly with the current of life. And yet, so many of us have forgotten. We hold on. We resist. We clutch stories and identities and pains like anchors tied to our ankles. We cling to the past, to expectations, to control, to what they said or didn't say, did or didn't do. We tighten our fists around things that are already floating downstream, believing that somehow in our clenching, we are safe. But the soul doesn't cling. The soul flows. The ego clings, that manufactured identity born of comparison and separation. It clings because it fears dissolving. It clings because it believes in lack. It clings because it has been conditioned to survive by controlling, by proving, by protecting a fragile sense of self built entirely on illusion. But the soul knows it cannot be harmed. The soul knows it was never lacking. The soul knows it doesn't need to become anything because it already is everything. It simply flows like wind through trees, like breath in the lungs, like love that does not demand anything in return. When you wake up to this truth, not as a concept, but as a felt reality, you begin to see how much energy has been wasted in holding on to what hurt you, holding on to who hurt you, holding on to who you used to be or who you think you need to become. It is all weight, it is all unnecessary. It is all the ego's attempt to control what the soul already understands, that everything is impermanent, and that impermanence is not the enemy, but the gateway to liberation. You do not need to carry what no longer serves you, not because it is wrong, not because it is bad, but because it is heavy. You were not made for heaviness. You were not made for tightness. You were not made to grasp. You were made to expand, to evolve, to become soft and supple and surrendered to the mysterious rhythm of life. You were made to flow. And flowing is not weakness. It is not passive. It is the most powerful act of trust. It is the choice to no longer resist the current of your own evolution. It is the courage to let go of the known and surrender to the vastness of the unknown. It is the decision to stop trying to control outcomes and start honoring alignment. It is the daily sacred practice of asking, where is life trying to take me, and am I willing to go? So ask yourself now, what are you clinging to? What story? What identity? What memory? What resentment? What version of yourself have you outgrown, but are still performing because it's familiar? And what would it feel like just for a moment to loosen your grip, to unclench your mental fists and allow life to move through you, not around you? Because here's the truth. When you release the need to control, you become available to grace. When you let go, you don't fall, you rise. You rise into the higher frequency of your own being. You rise into the flow state of the soul. You rise into a rhythm that is not frantic or forceful, but deeply peaceful, deeply wise, deeply loving. There is a quiet confidence in those who flow. They do not need to prove, they do not need to rush, they are not seduced by urgency or pressure. They move from presence. They listen to the whispers beneath the noise. They trust the signs. They walk away when it's time. They stay when it's true. They live not by force, but by alignment. You were never meant to swim against the current of your own truth. And what is your truth? That you are not the stories you've been telling yourself. You are not your wounds. You are not your resume or your failures or your reputation. You are not the name they gave you or the roles you were assigned. You are something far more eternal. A soul here for a fleeting moment, learning to remember who you are. And in remembering, you heal. You heal not by adding more to yourself, but by releasing what is not you. You don't become whole by accumulation. You become whole by subtraction. Letting go of the fear, letting go of the shame, letting go of the need for validation, letting go of the timelines, letting go of the weight. You don't need it anymore. You never did. Flowing means saying yes to your own becoming. It means no longer holding yourself hostage to a version of you that was necessary for survival but is no longer aligned with who you're becoming. It means trusting that what is meant for you will never require you to shrink, to strive, or to betray your own peace. Flowing means releasing the people who cannot meet you where you're going, not with bitterness, not with resentment, but with deep gratitude for what they showed you and a quiet bow as you both continue your separate ways. Flowing means grieving what has ended, but not dragging the corpse with you. Flowing means allowing the space in your life to be empty for a while, not rushing to fill it with noise, distraction, or new attachments, but trusting that the empty space is sacred, that the void is the womb of your next becoming, that silence is not absence, but presence preparing you for more. So often we say we want peace, but we are unwilling to release the chaos. We say we want to be free, but we are addicted to our chains. We say we want to flow, but we grip the riverbanks with white knuckles. The soul waits patiently, never pushing, never punishing, just whispering gently, let go, let it flow, I know the way. And when you finally listen, when you finally soften, when you finally surrender, everything changes. Not because the world has changed, but because your inner world is no longer resisting the current of life. You stop trying to swim upstream. You stop arguing with reality. You stop fighting your own expansion. And in that stillness, in that surrender, you remember you were always the river. You were always the flow. You were never the rock. There is a sacred intelligence flowing through all of life, an unspoken harmony that arranges galaxies and opens flowers, that carries the tide and breathes your lungs without needing permission. That same force flows through you. It's not something you must earn. It's not something that depends on your achievements or your past. It is your nature. The soul is not something you possess, it is what you are. And the soul knows how to flow because it is not bound by ego. It does not confuse stillness with stagnation. It does not mistake letting go for losing. It sees the truth clearly, that everything you're afraid of losing was never truly yours, only borrowed for a time, a teacher in disguise, a season in the symphony of your evolution. The ego builds walls, but the soul opens windows. The ego fears death, but the soul knows only transformation. The ego asks, what will they think? The soul asks, what is true for me? And you must decide, moment by moment, breath by breath, whose voice you will follow. Do you want a life that clings or a life that flows? Clinging says, I am not enough, so I must hold on to this person, this job, this image, this pain, or I will disappear. Flowing says, I'm already whole, so I trust that what leaves is no longer aligned and what comes is already mine in spirit. One is fear masquerading as love. The other is love, pure and unshaken by circumstance. Let this moment be the moment you come back to yourself, back to the still, wise, unshakable presence beneath the noise of your mind, back to the space where you don't need to prove anything, where you don't need to fix yourself, where you don't need to get somewhere else. Back to the simple, sacred truth. You are already held. You are already guided. You are already flowing when you stop trying to be the river and allow yourself to become the water. You cannot flow while clinging, and you cannot cling while flowing. The soul invites you into a different kind of power, not the kind that forces outcomes or dominates others, but the kind that rises from radical trust. Trust that what is falling away is making space. Trust that what didn't work was never meant to last. Trust that the timing is perfect, even when it makes no sense to the mind. Trust that something ancient and eternal is always on your side, even when life feels like unraveling. Especially then, there is beauty in the unraveling. There is grace in the undoing. There is peace in the pause between chapters. And when you stop resisting that space, when you stop trying to rush through the uncomfortable unknown, you will feel something holy begin to open. The weight will lift. The breath will deepen. The tears will soften into prayers. The fight will dissolve into presence. And presence, my friend, is the doorway to the soul. When you are fully here, not regretting the past or rehearsing the future, you remember the only thing that has ever been real, this moment, this breath, this now. And in that now, the need to cling dissolves. Because you see, there is nothing to cling to. There is only this infinite moment of becoming. This is the invitation. This is the path. This is the liberation. To trust your flow more than you trust your fear. Your pain has shaped you, but it does not define you. Your story is sacred, but it is not your prison. You are not bound to what once broke you. You are not required to relive what you've already outgrown. You can thank the past for its lessons and then let it go. Not because you're denying it, but because you're no longer choosing to suffer under its weight. The past is not your home. The soul lives forward. You are not meant to stay where your spirit has already left. You are not meant to dwell in spaces that no longer resonate. You are not meant to repeat patterns that keep you small. You are not meant to make yourself digestible to those who cannot taste the truth of your being. You are not meant to betray your own peace for the comfort of others. You are meant to flow. And to flow, you must trust that letting go is not the end, it is the beginning. The soul doesn't cling to roles, titles, outcomes, or attachments. It doesn't demand proof. It simply flows faithfully, naturally, freely with the source from which it came. You are that source in form. You are that eternal presence expressing itself in a human lifetime. You are not separate from the divine. You are a unique, unrepeatable current in the ocean of God. And when you stop resisting that current, you return home to your deepest truth. I am not this fear. I am not this grasping. I am not this control. I am the one who watches it all come and go, untouched and unafraid. Flowing is not about giving up. It is about giving in. Not to weakness, but to wisdom. Not to chaos, but to the deeper order. Not to apathy, but to alignment. It is the realization that the more tightly you hold on, the more you suffer. And the more you surrender, the more you see life was never working against you. It was always working for your awakening. So breathe, soften, listen, let go of your agenda for a moment and ask the deeper question, what is life trying to show me? Where is it trying to lead me? What truth have I been avoiding? And what would happen if I simply said yes? This is not the path of the world. It is the path of the soul. It is slower, deeper, quieter, but it is also more powerful. It doesn't rush to fix. It doesn't cling to old maps. It doesn't need guarantees. It simply flows because it trusts. And as you begin to live from this place, your life changes. Not always in visible ways, but in foundational ways. You feel lighter, you react less, you forgive more easily, you stop explaining yourself to people who were never meant to understand. You find peace in solitude. You let love find you instead of chasing it. You speak your truth, not to convince, but because it's who you are. You live not from fear, but from freedom. And this is the deepest freedom, not the freedom to control everything, but the freedom from the need to let that be enough for now. Let it be enough to breathe. Let it be enough to not know what's next, but to trust that something sacred is unfolding. Let it be enough to release what you were never meant to carry. Let it be enough to simply return to the flow again and again, as many times as you need. You are not late, you are not behind, you are not broken, you are not too much or not enough. You are exactly where your soul needs you to be learning, shedding, remembering, returning. Because you've never truly left. You've only been distracted. You've only been afraid. You've only been trying to manage a river that was always here to carry you. But now you remember. Now you feel it rising in you. The the call to flow, the whisper to let go, the sacred courage to stop clinging and start living fully, freely, fearlessly. Flowing is a remembrance, not a destination. You don't become worthy of it, you return to it. It's what you were before they told you who to be, before the world wrapped its labels around your light, before you learned to perform for approval or to hide your wounds beneath a polished smile. The flow was always there beneath the striving, beneath the shame, beneath the noise. It's the you that exists when there's nothing to prove, nothing to defend, nothing to cling to, just presence, just love, just the gentle, patient rhythm of your soul moving in time with the infinite. When you stop trying to carry the weight of your entire life on your shoulders, something holy happens. You begin to feel the hands of the divine beneath you, invisible, steady, holding you even when you can't see them. You stop gripping so tightly to outcomes, and you start trusting in the unfolding. You stop trying to make people stay, and you start honoring the way love expands when it's not possessed. You stop controlling the narrative, and you start living the truth. This is not complacency. This is not apathy. This is not spiritual bypassing. This is the deepest courage there is, to trust your inner knowing more than external noise, to walk away when it dishonors your soul, to release what you've outgrown, even when your hands shake, to say yes to the quiet, sacred, unglamorous process of healing without needing applause, to no longer make decisions from fear, but from the freedom of your spirit. You are not here to be weighed down by old stories. You are not here to live in someone else's version of who you should be. You are not here to repeat ancestral patterns of suffering because you think pain is noble. You are here to break the cycle, to breathe a new breath, to say, it ends with me, not in anger, not in pride, but in clarity, in peace, in love. You are here to choose differently. And every moment offers that choice, to cling or to flow, to resist or to surrender, to live from fear or from freedom. Some days you will forget. That's okay. Some days the grip will tighten again around your expectations, your history, your identity. But each time, the soul will gently remind you, you don't need to hold on. You are held. You don't need to carry it. You are carried. Letting go is not an event, it is a practice, a returning, a loosening, a remembering that the more you allow, the more you align, the more you trust, the more you transform. The more you flow, the more you heal, not by fixing anything, but by finally realizing that nothing essential was ever broken. You are not here to become someone else. You are here to unbecome everything that was never really you. Peel it back. The guilt, the people-pleasing, the perfectionism, the pressure to perform, the need to be understood by everyone, the urge to keep proving your worth. Let it all drop away. Strip yourself of everything that doesn't feel like truth. Watch how light you become when you stop dragging what you were never meant to carry. This is the miracle of flowing. It clears the space for the real you to emerge. Not the wounded self, not the performing self, not the pleasing self, the soul self, the one who trusts timing, the one who lives in presence, the one who doesn't argue with reality, the one who breathes deeply and walks lightly because they've realized that nothing real can be lost and nothing unreal is worth holding on to. And so the healing continues. It deepens. It doesn't always announce itself. It doesn't come with fireworks or grand revelations. Sometimes it's a quiet shift, the moment you don't react to the old trigger, the moment you choose silence over defending yourself, the moment you let someone go without needing closure. That's healing. That's flow. And you begin to realize that you are no longer in a rush. You are no longer desperate for answers. You are no longer searching for validation in eyes that do not know how to see you. You are no longer willing to abandon yourself for love. You are no longer willing to distort your truth just to be accepted. You flow now. You honor the rhythm of your own soul. You listen, not to the fear in your head, but to the knowing in your heart. You allow others to think what they think. You allow life to unfold in its own timing. You allow the unknown to be not a threat, but a temple. You are becoming free, not because the world has changed, but because you have. Because you no longer seek to control what cannot be controlled. Because you no longer fear the silence. Because you no longer need to carry every burden alone. Because you have remembered the sacred truth. The soul doesn't cling, it flows. And in that flowing, you begin to see others differently too. You stop demanding that they stay the same. You stop needing them to complete you. You stop blaming them for your wounds. You stop trying to convince, convert, or change them. You begin to love in a new way, not from need, but from overflow. Not from fear, but from freedom. Not to fill a hole, but to share your wholeness. You forgive, not to let them off the hook, but to unhook yourself from the chain of suffering. You release, not because you don't care, but because you've decided to care for your peace more than your pride. You walk away when needed, not in anger, but in truth. You stay when aligned, not out of fear, but out of love. This is the work of the soul. Not to fight, but to flow. Not to conquer, but to remember. Not to cling, but to let the river carry you home. And the more you do this, the more you will find that what is meant for you doesn't require effort to hold. It fits, it resonates, it flows with you. The people, the opportunities, the visions, they feel light, they feel aligned, they feel like truth. And those that don't, you bless them and release them. No resistance, no resentment, just clarity, just grace. You are not here to suffer. You are not here to earn love. You are not here to be everything for everyone. You are here to embody your soul. And the soul is not in a hurry. It is not in panic. It is not at war. It is water. It is wind. It is light. And it knows the way. Every moment you let go, something within you softens. The heart opens. The breath deepens. You begin to feel again not the sharpness of suffering, but the quiet pulse of aliveness. And in that aliveness, you meet yourself. Not the idea of you, not the projection, but the real you, the ancient you, the unshakable you. The one who has walked through fire and still chooses grace. The one who has lost so much and yet still sings. The one who has broken, bent, wept, crawled, and yet never forgot the truth, no matter how dim it became in the noise of the world. And the truth is this: you are not your trauma. You are not your past. You are not your wounds. You are the presence that witnessed it all. You are the light that survived. You are the consciousness that continues to rise. Your soul doesn't cling to pain because your soul knows pain is not your identity. Your soul doesn't cling to success because your soul knows success is not your worth. Your soul doesn't cling to certainty because your soul knows that life is never meant to be figured out. It's meant to be felt, danced, lived, flowed with. You begin to understand, not just mentally, but with your whole being. Resistance is the only thing that hurts. Not the event, not the loss, not the ending, the resistance to it, the refusal to let it move through you. The clinging to the idea that it should have been different. The obsession with rewriting the past in your mind. The ego screams, it wasn't supposed to be this way. But the soul whispers, it was. It had to be. Not as punishment, as preparation. Preparation for what? For this sacred moment of awakening, this sacred return to yourself, this sacred choice to no longer live in bondage to the past, this sacred breath of surrender, this sacred decision to let life love you without needing you to control it. You see, now peace is not found in fixing, it is found in flowing. It is not found in having all the answers. It is found in becoming the space where the answers can land. And that space is still. That space is soft. That space is unclenched, unarmored, unafraid. So many of us carry invisible armor. We tighten around life, bracing for impact. We anticipate rejection. We rehearse abandonment. We prepare for loss. We protect ourselves from the very experiences that would set us free. But freedom never comes through defense. Freedom comes through openness, through willingness, through flow. Drop the armor now. It is not needed here. You are safe to be soft. You are safe to be open. You are safe to let go. And yes, your mind will tell you that to flow is to risk everything, that if you surrender, you'll fall apart. But the soul knows what falls apart is only what was never true to begin with. Let the false self unravel. Let the story dissolve. Let the illusion burn. You are not here to live a tightly controlled life. You are here to live a truthful life. And truth has no need for clinging. You don't have to force what's meant for you. You don't have to prove your worth. You don't have to hold on to love with a white-knuckle grip. Love that is real doesn't need to be caged. It flows to you freely as an echo of your own alignment. This is the shift. This is the healing. This is the moment you become new, not by becoming someone else, but by shedding the untrue. And the world around you begins to mirror this. You attract with ease what you used to chase. You release what no longer resonates without fear. You speak your truth with clarity and softness. You stop asking, will they accept me? And start asking, am I accepting myself? Because the soul doesn't seek approval. It lives in integrity. And that integrity is not perfection. It's not a curated image. It's the quiet knowing that you are who you say you are, even when no one is watching. It's the soft power of being at home in your own spirit. It's the lightness of not needing to cling to masks. You are returning to that now, and in your return, you heal. You heal generations of suppression. You heal lifetimes of clinging. You heal the fractured relationship between your mind and your essence. Because flowing is not just personal, it is sacred. It is ancestral. It is collective. When you choose to flow, you liberate others. When you let go, you give others permission to do the same. When you live in presence, you become a lighthouse for those still lost in the storm of control. You don't need to save anyone. Your light is the invitation. Your flow is the medicine. So don't be afraid of the emptiness that comes when you let go. That emptiness is not void. It is space. It is room for the real to emerge. It is the fertile ground of transformation. And in that ground, new life will grow. Not because you forced it, not because you planned it, but because you became available to it. You flowed, and now you see that nothing real is ever lost, that what was taken was only ever borrowed, that what fell away was only meant to walk you to the threshold of your deeper becoming, that every detour was a necessary redirection, that every heartbreak was a holy invitation, that every ending was really a beginning dressed in silence. You see that clinging never protected you, it only exhausted you. You see that control was a disguise for fear. You see that your safety has never been in the known, but in the truth. You see that love, real love, never requires you to abandon yourself. And so you choose again and again to flow, not perfectly, not always easily, but honestly, gently, wholeheartedly. Because flowing is not about being above pain. It's about not becoming it. It's about allowing yourself to feel fully, vulnerably, without letting that feeling become your identity. It's about meeting yourself where you are while still trusting where you're going. It's about no longer carrying yesterday's weight into tomorrow's miracle. Then let us close, softly and clearly, like the last ripple of a river disappearing into the sea. You are not here to grasp. You are not here to control the current. You are not here to rewrite the past or manipulate the future. You are here to be, to open, to breathe, to allow the mystery to move through you like a sacred wind, to become so light that nothing sticks, nothing stains, nothing steals your peace. Flowing doesn't mean nothing matters. It means you no longer suffer unnecessarily over what does. Let the world change. Let people leave. Let dreams evolve. Let chapters close. Let the self you once were dissolve into the self you're becoming. Let it all move. Let it all flow. Because the soul doesn't cling. It flows. It trusts. It breathes. It loves. And it remembers always that nothing real can ever be lost. And neither can you. You are the river. Now flow. There comes a moment in every life where the soul begins to whisper louder than the world shouts. A moment when something in you beyond your mind, beyond your emotions, beyond even your history rises up and says, enough. No more dragging. No more clinging. No more pretending the weight of what was is what I am. That is the moment when you are called, not by circumstance, not by pain, but by spirit itself, to release, to surrender, and to trust the higher current of your being. Let go or be dragged. This is not a suggestion. It is not a cliche. It is not a convenient aphorism for a quiet evening on your yoga mat. It is a fundamental law of the soul's evolution. Life will teach you this, either through grace or through the friction of resistance. And you, dear soul, get to choose. The river does not apologize to the stone that refuses to move. It simply continues flowing, and the stone, stubborn in its place, finds itself eroded by its refusal to change. So too do we, when we cling to the past, to stories that no longer serve us, to identities that were never ours, and to wounds that no longer need to be carried. When we grip the pain, we become it. When we release it, we remember who we are. You were not born to be a prisoner of what has already happened. You were not created to drag the weight of old resentments through the gardens of your future. You are not here to be ruled by the illusions of ego or the bruises of memory. You are here to awaken, to liberate, to breathe into your own vastness and walk as the embodiment of love, peace, and truth. Let go or be dragged. And yet, I understand. Letting go is not always easy. The past often feels familiar even when it hurts. The ego clings to its grievances because they create identity. I am the one who was betrayed. I am the one who failed. I am the one they didn't love. But none of these are true. They are only masks worn by the soul when it forgets its origin. The truth is far simpler and infinitely more beautiful. You are not your wounds. You are not your story. You are not the echo of yesterday's thunder. You are the sky, and the sky does not hold on to storms. When you live in alignment with your soul, not your story, you stop needing explanations for everything that hurt you. You stop demanding closure from people who never had the capacity to understand your heart. You stop fighting the flow of life as if the river itself were your enemy. And you start remembering peace is not something you earn by fixing what went wrong. Peace is what returns the moment you stop trying to control what was never yours to control. To let go is to trust. To let go is to say, this is not who I am anymore. To let go is to stop asking the past to return and finally open your arms to the miracle of now. Now is all you ever truly possess. Now is where your healing waits patiently. Now is where the divine breathes in you. And yet, you may ask, how do I let go of what broke me? How do I release what defined me? How do I forgive what seems unforgivable? I will tell you, not through theory, but through truth. You let go not by erasing the past, but by refusing to carry it forward. You let go by becoming so radically present that the past cannot find space to survive in you. You let go by no longer making your pain your personality. You let go by understanding that forgiveness is not weakness. It is the strength of a soul that chooses freedom over bitterness. Every time you forgive, you untie the knot that keeps your spirit bound. Every time you release an old identity, you make space for your real self to emerge. And every time you surrender your grip on control, you align with the intelligence that orchestrates galaxies. And yes, that same intelligence breathes your lungs and beats your heart without you having to micromanage it. So why then do you insist on controlling what life has already asked you to release? Why, dear soul, do you keep dragging the chain when the lock was opened long ago? You are not here to repeat the same patterns under different disguises. You are not here to keep recreating the suffering that your soul came here to transcend. You are here to wake up, to rise up, and to become the unshakable peace beneath every storm. There is a sacred intelligence within you. It knows when it is time to let go of a person, a belief, an expectation, a guilt, a regret, a fear. And when you do not listen, life will speak louder. It will echo through your relationships. It will rumble in your nervous system. It will disturb your sleep, clutter your thoughts, and whisper through every closed door. Let go, let go, let go. Because it loves you too much to let you live small. Because it loves you too much to let you become addicted to your own suffering. Because it loves you enough to tear away everything false so only the truth remains. And what is the truth? You are already whole. You are already enough. You are not your trauma. You are the consciousness that witnessed it. You are not your failures. You are the soul that learned from them. You are not what they did to you. You are what you choose to become now. Let go or be dragged. This is not a threat from life. It is a call to liberation. It is not punishment. It is purification. It is not cruelty. It is compassion. Because the moment you let go, you become weightless. And what is weightlessness if not freedom? Stay with me here. Breathe. Inhale this truth into every cell of your being. You do not have to keep proving your worth to a world that does not understand the language of the soul. You do not have to keep performing an identity that pleases others but suffocates your spirit. You do not have to keep explaining your past not to them and not to yourself. You are allowed to let go. You are allowed to be new. You are allowed to walk away from what was and walk toward what calls your soul forward. The phoenix does not rise with ashes clinging to its wings. You too must burn what no longer belongs. Not out of rage, but out of reverence. Reverence for your own becoming. Reverence for the life waiting on the other side of your surrender. So again, I say it, let go or be dragged. You do not owe your suffering to anyone. You do not owe your pain an explanation. You do not have to keep feeding the memory of what broke you with your present energy. Because every time you relive what happened, you give it power. And every time you carry the story, you forget the silence beneath it. There is a deeper you, a silent, luminous, ever-present you. Untouched by pain, beyond the narratives, free from the personality. It does not keep score. It does not hold grudges. It does not measure your worth by how much you've endured. It waits. It waits for you to remember that you were never the storm, only the witness to it. That you were never the identity, only the awareness behind it. That you were never the victim, only the soul, unfolding, learning, awakening. And when you finally release your grip on how it should have been, how they should have treated you, how life should have unfolded, a light begins to enter, not from outside, but from within. Because that light was always there. It was just buried under the rubble of unprocessed emotion, stories you inherited and beliefs you never questioned. To let go is not to forget it, is to stop reliving. To let go is not to abandon, it is to return to presence. To let go is not to lose, it is to finally allow life to give. There are those who will tell you that letting go is weakness, but those who have truly surrendered know it is the fiercest strength, because it takes courage to stop carrying. It takes wisdom to know what no longer belongs, and it takes deep trust to release what the ego says is essential and discover that the soul had something better all along. Every ending you feared was your undoing became the seed of your awakening. Every loss you cursed in the night became the space where truth was born. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every disappointment carved into you a greater capacity to feel, to empathize, to rise. What if the things you are clinging to are the very things keeping you from your destiny? What if the person you refuse to release is the anchor preventing your wings from expanding? What if the pain you keep replaying is the wall that keeps joy out? And what if the moment you let go, everything you thought you lost finally returns in a higher form? There is a sacred rhythm to the universe, one that favors those who trust the unseen over the familiar, those who choose flow over force, presence over performance, faith over fear. The trees do not cling to their leaves in autumn because they trust spring will come. And you too must trust that your becoming cannot be stopped by a single season. Let go or be dragged. There is no arrival without surrender, no peace without release, no joy without the death of what blocks it. And so I ask you gently with no judgment, only love. What are you still dragging? What are you still fighting to keep alive that has already died? What emotion, what belief, what name, what label, what old wound still has its claws in your nervous system? You may say, but I can't just let it go. It's too deep. Then let it rise. Let it rise through your breath, your tears, your silence. Let it rise without judgment. Let it rise like incense into the sky of your awareness. And when it has been seen, when it has been felt, when it has been honored, then let it pass like every wave before it. You are not here to drown. You are here to remember that you are the ocean. And no wave, no matter how fierce, can destroy the depth of what you are. This is the great illusion of pain. It convinces you that it is permanent, that it defines you, that without it you are nothing. But the opposite is true. Without it you are free. Without it you are whole. Without it you are returned to your origin, divine, still, luminous, present. You were not created to be a container of old stories. You were born to be a vessel of light. And the more you let go, the more room you create for that light to shine through you into your relationships, your work, your thoughts, your presence. Letting go is not passive. It is not doing nothing. It is doing the most sacred work there is, allowing life to move through you without resistance. You cannot heal what you continue to cling to. You cannot evolve while defending your limitations. And you cannot be reborn while still holding funerals in your heart for what no longer exists. So breathe. Breathe as a radical act of surrender. Breathe as a declaration. I am not who I was. I am not what happened. I am not this pain. And breathe again as a return to the present moment, the only place where healing lives. Let go or be dragged. When you cling to something no longer meant for you, you are not protecting yourself, you are punishing yourself. When you revisit a wound again and again, it does not heal, it festers. When you repeat the same emotional patterns hoping for a different result, you are not loving, you are looping. And when you let it go, when you finally lay it down, not with resentment, but with reverence, something sacred occurs. You begin to remember who you were before the world taught you to forget. You begin to feel the joy that has no cause, the peace that surpasses understanding, the stillness beneath the story you begin to live. And that, my friend, is the ultimate liberation. You see, the world taught you to grip tightly, to hold on to identities, to memories, to achievements, to wounds. It said, define yourself by what happened, by what you've earned, by what you've endured. But the soul has no interest in your resume. The soul knows only essence. The soul says, you are light. You are presence. You are eternal. You are free. When you let go, you do not become less. You become more of what you truly are. The illusions fall away. The masks dissolve. And what remains is pure, unshakable being. Peace not found through achievement, but through allowance. A peace that arrives the moment you stop struggling to become and begin surrendering to what already is. The ego is always trying to acquire. The soul is always trying to remember. The ego says, you must prove your worth. The soul whispers, you were worthy before you were born. The ego clings. It fears loss. It identifies with separation. But the soul trusts. It knows nothing real can ever be lost, and nothing unreal was ever truly yours. That relationship you keep reliving in your mind, let it go. That conversation you replay in your head at 2 a.m., let it go. That version of yourself you think you need to be loved, let it go. You were never meant to carry the entire house of your past on your back. You were only meant to gather the lessons, the strength, the love, and leave the rubble behind. You are here to ascend, not upward, but inward, not into someone new, but into your original self. Before fear taught you to hide, before pain taught you to guard, before shame convinced you that you were broken. You are not broken. You are buried beneath layers of expectation, guilt, resentment, and stories that were never yours. And the spiritual work is not to fight those layers, but to release them, to see through them, to stop feeding them your attention, to realize, I am not this emotion, I am not this thought, I am not this story. I am awareness, and awareness cannot be dragged. Awareness simply watches as everything that is not it falls away. Let go or be dragged, because what you cling to becomes your weight, and what you release becomes your wings. Yes, it may feel frightening to let go. That is natural. The ego believes it must cling to survive, but the soul knows letting go is not death. It is resurrection. And every time you release something that is no longer meant for you, a person, a belief, an old identity, you are reborn into a deeper intimacy with truth. So stop asking the past to give you what it cannot. Stop seeking closure from those who are not capable of giving it. Stop waiting for apology, validation, or understanding to finally move forward. The key is not in their hands. It never was. It has always been in yours. When you finally decide, not hope, not wish, not beg, but decide that your peace matters more than your story, that your expansion matters more than your pain, that your freedom matters more than being right, the door opens. Not outside of you, but within. You see, letting go is a sacred initiation. It is how you cross from unconscious living into awakened being. It is how you stop orbiting your life from the outside and start inhabiting it fully from the center. It is how you return to presence. And presence is not some mystical place far away. It is here, it is now, it is you, when you stop dragging the past into the present and simply become the awareness that watches all things come and go. The truth is, you have already survived what tried to destroy you. Now, the only thing left is to let it leave your hands. Not because it didn't matter, but because your peace matters more. You don't let go to forget. You let go to live. You don't release the past to erase your humanity. You release it to reveal your divinity. Because every time you breathe into the now, every time you make space between the trigger and your reaction, every time you choose love instead of fear, stillness instead of chaos, surrender instead of control, you are returning to the center of your being. And that center cannot be shaken. That center does not drag That center does not cling. That center knows I am, I always was, I always will be. Breathe. Just breathe. Let the breath be your guide home. The breath is always letting go. The exhale is proof. You do not cling to breath. You trust it will return. You trust that letting go is the rhythm of life itself. So why then do you resist the very process that sustains you? Let go or be dragged. You cannot hold your breath and be at peace. You cannot grip what's gone and be free. You cannot serve two masters, one rooted in fear, one rooted in truth. You must choose, and choosing means releasing, not once, not twice, but as a lifestyle. Release the judgment. Release the need to be understood. Release the imaginary audience in your mind. Release the idea that healing must look a certain way. Release the myth that letting go means weakness. It means wisdom. It means you have finally seen through the illusion. It means you have remembered who you are. And who are you? You are the sky, not the storm. You are the presence, not the pain. You are the stillness, not the story. You are the soul, not the scars. And the soul is not here to carry burdens, it is here to shine, to bless, to awaken, to love, even in the face of betrayal, to love, even after loss, to love, even with nothing certain, to love. Because love, real transcendent love, is not an emotion. It is your essence. And it asks nothing but that you make room for it to flow through you. But love cannot flow where resentment blocks the way. Peace cannot dwell where control grips tight. Freedom cannot live in a heart cluttered with what should have been. Let it go. Let it all go. The roles you thought you had to play. The people you thought you had to please. The timelines you thought you had to meet. Let them go. Not because you failed, but because you are being called higher. The soul does not settle. The soul does not bargain. The soul says, it's time. Step into your truth. Release what dims your light. Let go or be dragged. There comes a moment, always quiet, always still, when the soul stops screaming and simply waits. Not for answers, not for apology, not for justice, but for presence. For you to sit down with yourself and finally say, I no longer need this weight to know who I am. That is the moment you stop being the story and start being the awareness behind it. You cannot carry the pain of a lifetime and expect your wings to open. You cannot drink from the well of resentment and expect it to quench your thirst. You cannot drag your chains into the temple of peace and call it healing. Forgiveness is not something you give to others. Forgiveness is what you offer yourself when you finally realize, I deserve to be free. Forgiveness says, I no longer give this moment of my life to what happened then. Forgiveness says, I am not willing to poison my peace with the past. Forgiveness is not saying it was okay. Forgiveness is saying it no longer controls me. You were never meant to stay in survival mode. You were never meant to live in reaction. You were never meant to stay small just because life hurt you. You were meant to awaken, to rise, to expand, to say to every painful thing that ever touched you, you may have shaped me, but you do not define me. You may have scarred me, but I have turned the scar into a doorway. You may have broken my heart, but the cracks let the light pour through. This is the path of the soul, to let life shape you without hardening you, to let pain touch you without becoming bitter, to let go not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Because the alternative is to stay trapped in a moment that no longer exists, to replay scenes in a movie that ended long ago, to live in resistance, in defense, in fear. And you were not born for that. You were born to walk free, not because nothing happened, but because you chose not to let what happened own you. Breathe again. Yes, you. Close your eyes for just a moment and breathe from your belly, from the deepest part of your being, not to forget, but to return. Return to the space that was never hurt. Return to the silence beneath the noise. Return to the truth you knew before you were taught to doubt it. I am whole. I am not what they did. I am not what I lost. I am not what I feared. I am what remains after all of that. You see, true letting go is not a single event. It is a sacred rhythm, a practice, a remembrance. Each day, each moment, you are offered the same choice. Hold on or trust. Cling or flow. Drag the old or dance with the now. And you will know the moment of decision, because it will not come with fireworks or a grand announcement. It will come quietly. In the middle of your day, in the middle of your breath, in the pause between thoughts, a gentle whisper. You don't need this anymore. You can lay this down. You are safe now. And when you listen, truly listen, everything begins to soften. The nervous system relaxes. The heart opens. The inner war ends. And peace, that eternal presence that was always within you, begins to rise. Not because something outside changed, but because you changed, you let go. You stopped fighting what was already over. You stopped waiting for the past to make sense. You stopped demanding that healing come with explanation. You just said, now is enough. I choose peace now. I choose freedom now. I choose to love now. And that's the moment the dragging ends. That's the moment the light rushes in. That's the moment you no longer need anything to be different in order to feel whole. Because you've remembered, letting go is not giving up. Letting go is giving in to grace, to God, to the unfolding. You are not falling apart. You are falling open. You are not losing yourself. You are finally shedding what you were never meant to carry. You are not being asked to abandon your past. You are being invited to reclaim your presence. The world around you may still try to convince you to cling, to stay bitter, to stay armored, to stay guarded, but the awakened soul knows nothing weighs more than what we refuse to release. So bless what was. Thank it for the lessons. Bow to it and let it return to dust. Because the truth is this: you are not here to be the keeper of pain. You are here to be the lighthouse, not despite the storm, but because you learned to rise through it. You are not here to collect scars. You are here to turn them into stars. You are not here to repeat the old story. You are here to write a new one, starting now. And the first line of that new story, I let go and I was free. So breathe. Breathe in forgiveness. Breathe out control. Breathe in light. Breathe out fear. Breathe in truth. Breathe out the need to be understood. Let go or be dragged. Let go and rise. Let go and return. Let go and become everything you were always meant to be. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now, right here, right now. Let this be the moment you come home to yourself. Let this be the moment the dragging ends. Let this be the moment peace begins. Because the weight was never who you were. Freedom is, and it always was.